You can't meet Betty for the first time and not have a positive experience. She's a very enthusiastic person, very optimistic, sometimes maybe overly so, but it's a good thing. There's no way to interact with her and not be uplifted.
I grew up in Wellington, Ohio, and it's just a lovely, quaint town, and I was able to be a free-range kid. And so we grew up around farms. My parents were business owners. They owned a little country motel while Dad was a salesman on the road. I think I was probably 6 or 7. He would take me along on sales calls. He was all about listening, observing, hearing what the client's needs might be, and then he would make the sale. And so I grew up kind of witnessing this, and I learned from him. When we moved to Mansfield, I went to school in the Mansfield City Schools, graduated from Malabar High School. I went to college in Colorado, then came back to Mansfield and ended up working at Herring Realty. It was during that time I was working on a advertising assignment, having a home relocation guide. And I thought, well, if we're really going to attract people to the area, they need to know about North Central Technical College. So I found myself in Byron Key's office, and he looked at me quizzically and he said, "You're the kind of person I have in mind for something I'd like to get off the ground here at the college." And it was executive director of the college's foundation. So in 1989, I come on board, and Byron and I were able to recruit a board of trustees and establish some tenants for what is now the North Central State College Foundation.
She sustained her position and working relationship with every president that followed, and that's not necessarily an easy thing to do in any organization. But she was able to deal with the institutional politics and maneuver through them very easily. It was a good talent.
Her contributions, not only financially, but building infrastructure and what she's done for NCSC, I don't know that we could measure, from the mentoring she's done, from her leadership.
The need for equipment, enhancement, replacement, financial aid for students, and just keeping staff and faculty current were the tenets of this young foundation. It was a no-brainer to me to be able to match that with fund development, which was a new skill that I had to acquire.
I think Betty's the perfect person to go to for fundraising because of her networking in the community. She knows everyone.
As a kid, going grocery shopping, going to get a gallon of milk was an hour-long ordeal because my mom knew everybody. We're going to talk to this person and this person and this person and this person. Everybody was always so excited to see her because she's magnetic.
That's the beauty of what Betty could contribute. People genuinely liked her, they liked her message, and wanted to be a part of it.
She was the first to give everybody else the praise and the credit, and some of it rightfully so, because a lot of people did a lot of things, but they did them a lot because they liked Betty.
She's very humble. She doesn't like to think that anything had happened because of her, but people look for her to come and help with an event that they want to grow because they know she can do it.
There was this rib cook-off that had existed for a few years and was held at the campus but had no affiliation. And so I was able to persuade some others that let's take this on.
Some of us were a little more reticent about the activity. It turned out to be a great event, a good activity for the foundation, a good activity for the college, and a great activity for the community. And again, Betty was the driving force.
The other thing that the rib cook-off led to is Ralph Phillips. When I invited him to be a judge at the rib cook-off, that led to a tour of the campus. And when we were in the then engineering building, now Key Hall, I described that the building was becoming limited. And I said, we had our eye on the Shelby Mutual Insurance building. And in Ralph's great demeanor, he says, hell, I'll buy it for you. We were eventually able to equip and modernize the Shelby Insurance Building with the generous help of James Kehoe. It became the Kehoe Center for Advanced Manufacturing.
And, Betty was actively involved and turned that into what today is an outstanding academic facility. She almost could carry the title of Miss Mansfield, and I don't mean that in a pageant sense, but she's always been actively involved in community activities.
The Mansfield Symphony Renaissance Board of Trustees, Richland County Foundation Finance Committee, 4-time serving with the Chamber and Destination Mansfield Rehab Center.
Salvation Army. She was even involved in the Art Center. And then on top of that, Kingwood.
When we envisioned that we could expand the footprint in a way of having a visitor center, that led to other kinds of things like eco-management and flood management, thus a $10 million campaign.
The first official fundraiser for Kingwood Gardens, and she was the perfect person to be selected to head that.
Sometime around 2003, she came to talk to us about doing a series of videos of local entrepreneurs she could show at an event. It was the Entrepreneurial Hall of Fame.
There were a lot of company founders, entrepreneurs that made very special products in our region. I wanted to tell these stories and translate that to our student body in terms of what's involved: risk, determination, investment, family, faith.
People realized these stories were interesting and they wanted to come and see them. Once they came to the event, they learned about the college, and the college got its name out more and people were realizing what it was doing for the community. The project was changed from Entrepreneurial Hall of Fame to Hall of Excellence.
From the get-go, it's been an excellent event. It's recognized those in the community who have been achievers and have been leaders in the community, and I think Betty being part of that recognition is probably long overdue.
I know that she was vice president of institutional advancement. She, ran the Rib Cook-Off and the Entrepreneurial Hall of Fame, and she wore all these hats. But to me, she will always be mom, and now it's grandma to my son.
We love the grandchildren. They light up my life, and that's kind of my occupation these days, taking care of them.
I don't know exactly what Betty wants to do in the future beyond what she's currently doing, being the doting grandmother. But I think if she decides to do something else, she will tackle it with 110% enthusiasm, and I'm no doubt that she will be successful. Her reputation is going to outlive all of us.